I think I also miss a little bit of a sense of freedom in the sense that my life is very tightly scheduled. I do a great deal of traveling, and so that really means that sometimes my travel is planned many years in advance, and there isn't often a sense of spontaneity or freedom that one might have in other contexts if you didn't travel as much. And so that's always a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice in my home and family to travel as much as I do. And so there have to be ways in which one has balance in one's life to do this job. And what I've learned is that no one is going to do that for you. As the leader of an organization, you have to model health and well-being, and that's always a struggle. I have a great deal of energy and resilience in my life personally. I've been blessed mostly with very good health, but at the same time, there are limits, and many of us in our vocation really struggle with those limits and healthy limits around our time and our work. And so that's a growing edge for me always. Maybe I'll learn that in retirement in a different way, I don't know, but it is something that everyone who has this job will have to wrestle with. Always what keeps me grounded and focused is my prayer life. I have a devotional life that's daily for me, and I don't always attend to it the way I'd like to, but without it, I'm really not grounded. I also am grounded in my home and family life, and that's a really important part of what keeps me going, what makes me glad to be alive and happy. And I'm grateful for so many friends and wonderful colleagues. I have the most incredible colleagues, many of whom I've worked with for decades, who are very honest with me and truthful, who don't sugarcoat things, but who also offer encouragement and support. And I'm thrilled that I have such wonderful people with whom to serve on the leadership team, among our elders, governing board, and in so many volunteers and staff around MCC. I'm very privileged to be well grounded in community. I have a wonderful local church that I attend in MCC, where I go, where I can put things on the prayer list, and sometimes I can serve communion or preach or be a part of that community. And I'm very grateful for that, that I'm grounded in so many wonderful communities, and especially grounded in my faith, which is always growing and changing, and in my prayer life. One of the most exciting days for me as moderator of MCC was the day I got invited to the Easter prayer breakfast at the White House with President Obama and about 80 or 90 other faith leaders and local leaders in the community. And it was a wonderful, beautiful experience in which the president himself greeted me personally, and it was just wonderful. There were, mega church pastors there, and bishops, and people from other, groups and communities, and people who ran food pantries and everything else. And it was a high moment. But I went from there and got on a plane and flew to Jamaica, where the next morning I marched in the March for Tolerance in Jamaica, the very first one. It was sort of a combination pride parade and AIDS event. It was a parade that asked for tolerance for people with AIDS, for LGBT people, and sex workers. And so 110 of us marched down the streets of Montego Bay. There were 5 clergy, all of them from MCC, from the U.S., who had come there to support our churches and our groups in Jamaica. And what was wonderful was in that 2-mile march down the streets of Montego Bay, we were not harassed, or no one threatened us. And people were able even to be on television for the very first time. And there was a huge rainbow flag. And I remember that flag. It was as long as the parade was itself. And everybody helping to hold on to that flag. And as we marched down the streets proudly in Jamaica. And I thought, what other job in the world would bring me from the White House at the Easter prayer breakfast one morning and marching in the streets of Jamaica for human rights the next? I think the most challenging thing about being moderator is always saying, how is it that we get the resources to do what we really need to do? All of us who work day by day in this organization know there are many more things we could do if we sort of broke through our glass ceiling around resources. And I've wrestled with that a lot in my time as moderator, and know that our members and friends wrestle with that in their local churches. I think looking at what are the barriers to growth and to receiving our message, my experience is that so many people are captivated by how we do worship and by how we have a very contemporary and relevant and fresh anointing in the gospel of Jesus Christ. And how is it that we can make that more accessible and available to people all over the world who may not be ready to organize a local church yet in their setting, but who really want to connect? And we're wrestling with ways to do that, to be able to do that virtually, to be able to do that in new ways that bring new life to our denomination as we get ready to celebrate our 50th anniversary. So I think the challenge continues to be, how are we inspiring new leaders, new people to be pastors or to be people who will help reshape the life and the ministry of Metropolitan Community Church in the decades to come. I believe that MCC has the most exciting, progressive, and open-hearted portrait of Jesus to offer the world, and that we have something unique in our experience of being through so much oppression, in our experience of changing hearts and lives and minds and laws and politics and so many places around the world. There's still so much need, just as we're achieving same-sex marriage in many places in the world. Today, people are struggling for their lives in places in the world where they cannot be open at all, where it is worth their life just to be discovered to be LGBT. I also believe that our great challenge is to be a church that continues to celebrate and be rooted in our legacy, in an LGBT faith movement, but at the same time is more and more relevant to people, whoever they are, straight and gay, and who need an authentic, a very real experience of the love and justice of God that they have not received at the hands of many churches in their lives. And so I believe that we have something relevant for every single community. I think our challenges in the next 6 years will be to continue to evolve a strategic plan for MCC that helps our churches grow, churches that are stuck at plateaus, churches that have declined, churches that struggle to have the right leadership in place. What is the partnership between the denomination and our local churches that can really help local churches become all they're called to be in their community? You know, we're only as strong as our brand is strong in many places. And there are places in MCC where our brand has been diminished in some ways, or where our churches have struggled. And so finding the ways to bring new life and hope and leadership to those places, and to look at what's going on really well and right in our churches that we need to find ways to replicate, and we need to find ways to share with the wider church. It's been a joy to share with you some of my thoughts about the next moderator of Metropolitan Community Churches and about my own journey through this time. God bless you and everyone who is in a process of prayer and discernment for our denomination as we go forward.